Greetings everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Private Will. I just realized that I haven't made a video in 3 weeks, not since the Battle of Gettysburg at the start of July. So I think I've rested enough. It's time to get back into the action. Now, I was a little busy, life happens, and I was also learning a new game, which I actually had for a while, but never really touched it. And that's because I'm kind of planning on bringing it out sometimes a little later in the month of August, sort of another celebration type of thing. But that's going to be for another time. So that's what I was doing. But I figured let's do another video. Let's make it a quick one, sort of a kind of a review, going back in time again to look at an old game of mine, something from my childhood. It's almost 50 years old, and obviously for kids of today this is going to be a little dated, but for us back then this was like our PS5 in a sort of way. And the game is Tank Battle by Milton Bradley, released in 1975. So kind of giving away my age on this point. As you can see, it's moving a little bit. The game is in the box is seen a lot of actions. I mean, it's not in the best conditions. See, it's been used, played a lot with this game over the years. Now, I was trying to remember when I got this game. I'm just gonna move this aside a bit for a second. I don't think I got this as a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. I think it was probably just a purchase. My uncle, was my godfather, was a single man, never had any children, was my mom's brother, and he used to buy a lot of things for me and my brother. Were kind of his kids in a way. So I think this is probably something that he must have bought at one point, and we just played with it. Now, what made this game so cool back in the day? Well, I'm going to show you right now. This and this. Now, how cool is this? Little minis of tanks, and a lot of people used to paint them. I've seen some games, some gamers who painted them, but I've never really had that much of a talent for that. I'm not exactly a artiste, so I never really wanted to venture in doing something like that. I probably would mess it up too badly. So there's two types of models in this. You have a German Panzer V Panther. I believe was the G version. I'm not 100% sure. It's marked somewhere in the box. And you had the American Sherman. Like I said, people used to paint them. You could paint them in the colors of the desert, and the map was sort of a kind of a, I'm not sure if it was desert, but sort of a generic type of map. And there was a lot of other things that was cool about this game. There was no dice. You had little anti-tank guns for both sides. You had a Command 10 HQ. You had a ammo depot, and you also had a fuel depot. So this is the color of the Germans, but there was also the same for the Americans. You also had a kind of this is how it used to stand, sort of a board that you could set up like this, where you had 5 extra shots that you could plan in advance on your move, and you've got the grid numbers here going for the enemy side, and you would like you could spend 5 in one shot, or 1, keep it for later, and hopefully if one of the opponent's tank would move into that particular area for that turn, you would score a hit. Then the combat would take place also, tank versus anti-tank gun, and there was actually no dice the way it works, and you have this little roulette over here, which is tank against gun, shows right here, and you would just spin it like this, and obviously if it fell in this area, the anti-tank gun was destroyed. But if you were kind of lucky and as the guy with the anti-tank went on this side, then it was a tank destroyed. You also had a 2 mines that you could mark down. So depending on the numbers that you pick, you would mark them down before the game started, and you would keep them inside your HQ here. There's a little opening, so if during the game, at any time during the movement of the your opponent, he would move in to one of those squares where the mine was located, well, he lost the tank. Now, the game movement, since it was nice, basically it was just like a little bit like Stratego. You would move 1 square at a time up, and the tank-to-tank resolution was, by these numbers. You can really see what your opponent's number was. So you would attack like this, and higher number would win against the lower number. So it was kind of a little bit like Stratego, if you ever played this game, where the marshal defeats the lower ranks and so on. This was the same thing. You also had flags that you could put on your tank to mark down as a command tank later on in the game. The way it works is that you had to eliminate the opponent's tanks, either by anti-gun, mines, or tank-to-tank, or with the artillery shells, like I said before. And you also had the chance of attacking the different element of your opponent. So if you managed to bring one of your tanks to the ammo section, well, your opponent would lose an anti-tank gun. If you manage to get to the fuel and eliminate the fuel, then you would automatically lose a tank. And finally, of course, if you get to the HQ, you win the game. You could also win the game by eliminating all your opponent's tanks. So obviously, nowadays when you look at this is a bit looks a little dated. I mean, just little tanks with some little miniatures. But you have to understand, for 50 years ago, for kids, this was definitely like the game of all game. You had Battleship, you have little boats, but this was way more cooler. And you had Stratego, but again, that was just like, little blocks with design of the soldier units on it. This one, you really had the little minis to go with it. Games usually were about 40 minutes max, I would think. Especially once you've known the rules pretty well and you know how to play. Just like other games back in the days, we kind of had our own little strategies to defend and attack and plan our artillery shots. And after a while, you kind of get an idea of how it works, and you try to improve or change it. But most of the time, you would kind of use the same setup. I don't know. So if you play with the same guys all the time, obviously you kind of realize what they were good doing. So you kind of learn to change things up a little bit. And since it was a quick game, even though you were 3 or 4 or 5 kids, you could still just watch the game while the 2 played, and then you could add 2 other guys play afterwards, and so you could make like a little tournament, best out of whoever wins 2 games or 3 games, ends up being the winner. Obviously there's different days, there's like we didn't have any computers, we didn't have any PlayStations. We definitely played these games to almost destructions. It holds up pretty well. I mean, it's a little damaged, obviously. I played with this a lot, me and my brothers, my friend. But I mean, you can still probably find this on the cheap side. I mean, most of the bucks are probably not that good looking. I made a quick search just for fun of it on the internet, and I mean, $25 to $30 is probably the max you're gonna pay for this game. I don't think you could pay more than that unless the box is really, really beat up and they want to give it away for $10. But as long as you get all the pieces, the box is not that big of a deal. Still, you can still find copies of it on eBay and just on the internet if you're interested. I wouldn't recommend paying over $50 for this game unless it's in super great conditions. But if you want to try an old game from the 1970s, and which was a lot of fun, which was quick and not complicated, if you want to give it a try, then I recommend Tank Battle by Milton Bradley, released in 1975. So let me know if you ever played this game in the comments. I know most of the guys who probably watch my channel are probably in the same age group as me, or maybe even a little older, and most likely, you might have played this. You probably had a copy of your own. A lot of these games disappear over the years. I was just kind of lucky enough to manage to save a few from those days, even though I did have some losses occurring because of water damages, and there's still some games that I still try to locate to this day. Hopefully I'll manage to get some copies back from some of those old favorites, but sometimes it's not easy, and a lot of times they can be, people want them, so the prices will be very high, and I just won't pay that much for a game, no matter how much I really want it. So like I said, let me know if you ever played this game, if you enjoyed it, playing with your friends, if you did tournaments, what were your strategies with it, if you actually painted them like me, if you were good enough to do that, and if you were like a good painter and you decided to give this a little bit more color on it, let me know. So like I said, we're probably gonna have another video. I'm probably gonna play one game before my kind of next anniversary later in August. I'm kind of debating which one. I think I'll make it a quick, easy, fun one, so that not to keep it going too long. And then there's gonna be that special game that I'm going to play later on in August. It's going to be about the English Civil War, so just to give you a heads up on that. Hopefully you'll join me for that one. Yeah, if you first time to the channel, please subscribe. I'm planning to make a lot of these videos, mostly older games, sometimes new ones, but most of the times it's just my old games that I used to have used to play as a kid. I still have them, and still enjoying them. Sometimes a few new ones. If I don't buy that many of them, there's not going to be a lot of new unboxing like you're going to see in other channels. It's mostly going to be older games. A lot of these board games like this, I probably could play a session, but it's a little weird. obviously, because you need to have an opponent. I mean, it's kind of weird to play these games by yourself like that. Some of the more regular war games are a little easier to play. But we'll see what we do. So like I said, I'm kind of looking at one particular game that I'm going to focus in the next week or two, then wrap this up, and then we're gonna move on to the English Civil War at the tail end of August. So hopefully you'll join me by then. So until then, stay safe, everyone.